What do you think of when you see the color white? Maybe you imagine a fresh blanket of snow, a fluffy cloud floating in the sky, or a clean, blank piece of paper. White often feels pure, simple, and maybe even a little bit empty. It seems like the absence of color, a default setting for the world. But what if I told you that this is all an illusion? What if white is actually the most crowded color of all? It's a secret that science has uncovered, and it completely changes how we see the world around us. The simple white light that fills our rooms and shines from the sun is not simple at all. It's a beautiful, complex mixture that our brains have learned to simplify. This idea might sound a little strange at first. After all, our eyes tell us that white is just white. When we look at a white wall, we don't see hints of red, green, or blue hiding within it. We just see a single uniform color. But our eyes are only part of the story. They are like cameras, capturing information from the world. The real magic happens in our brains, which act like super smart computers, processing all that information. Our brains take shortcuts to help us make sense of everything we see, and one of its biggest shortcuts is creating the experience of white. It's a convenient label for something incredibly dynamic and full of energy. So, get ready to explore one of the most amazing tricks of light and perception. We are going to peel back the layers of white light and discover the vibrant rainbow hidden inside. It's a journey that will take us from the physics of light waves to the biology of our own eyes. We will see how something that appears so plain is actually a bustling party of every color we can imagine. Understanding this will not only teach you about science, but will also give you a new appreciation for the simple things, like the sunlight streaming through your window. It's a reminder that there is often incredible complexity hiding just beneath the surface of what we see. Thinking about white as a combination of colors instead of an absence of them is a huge shift in perspective. Imagine a choir where every member is singing a different note at the same time. If they are perfectly balanced, you might not hear individual notes but rather one powerful, unified sound. White light is very similar to that. It's a perfect harmony of different light energies all arriving at our eyes at once. Our brains interpret this full-spectrum chorus as the color white. This is why the world can look so different under different types of light. The white from a fluorescent tube is a different mix of colors than the white from the sun, which is why things can sometimes look a little off indoors. To understand the secret of white light, we first need to understand what light is. Light travels through space in waves, much like ripples moving across a pond. You can't see these waves with your eyes, but they are all around us. Each light wave has a specific length, which we call its wavelength. Think of it like a measuring tape for light. Some waves are long and stretched out, while others are short and packed closely together. This tiny difference in wavelength is the key to all the colors we see in the world. Our brains are wired to interpret these different wavelengths as different colors. It's a beautiful system that turns physics into a visual masterpiece. When we see a rainbow, we are actually seeing light broken apart into its individual pieces. A rainbow happens when sunlight passes through raindrops in the air. Each raindrop acts like a tiny prism, a special tool that can bend light. As the white sunlight enters a raindrop, it bends and separates into its different wavelengths. The longest waves, which our brains see as red, bend the least. The shortest waves, which we see as violet, bend the most. This separation spreads all the colors out into the beautiful arc we call a rainbow, showing us exactly what was hiding inside that white sunlight all along. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet are all there. This means that color isn't a property of an object itself. A red apple isn't full of red color. Instead, the surface of the apple is made of materials that absorb most of the wavelengths from the white light hitting it. It absorbs the greens, blues, and yellows, but it reflects the long wavelengths back to our eyes. Our brain receives these long waves and says, "That's red." So when you see a color, you are really seeing the light that an object decided not to absorb. The object is reflecting a specific part of the hidden rainbow back to you, and that's the color you perceive it to be. This concept helps explain why the world is so colorful. Every object around us has a unique surface that interacts with light in its own special way. A green leaf absorbs red and blue light but reflects the green wavelengths. A blue flower absorbs red and green light but reflects the blue wavelengths. And what about a white object, like a piece of paper? It doesn't absorb any of the visible wavelengths. Instead, it reflects all of them, red, green, blue, and everything in between, back at our eyes at once. Our brain gets this jumble of all colors and, as we learned, interprets that full signal as white. If you've ever played with paints, you know that mixing colors together usually makes a dark, muddy mess. If you mix red, yellow, and blue paint, you don't get white. You get something closer to a dark brown or black. This seems to completely contradict the idea that colors combine to make white. So, what's going on here? The key is that there are two different ways to mix colors. When we mix paint, we are using what's called subtractive color mixing. When we mix light, we are using additive color mixing. They work in opposite ways, which is why they produce such different results. Let's start with paint. Pigments in paint work by absorbing or subtracting certain wavelengths of light. Yellow paint, for instance, absorbs blue light and reflects red and green light, which our brains mix to see as yellow. Blue paint absorbs red and yellow light and reflects blue light. When you mix them together, the yellow paint subtracts the blue light, and the blue paint subtracts the red and yellow light. Now, almost all the light is being absorbed, and very little is reflected back to your eyes. The more colors you add, the more light gets subtracted, until you're left with something very dark. Mixing light is a completely different process. Instead of subtracting light, you are adding it together. The primary colors of light are red, green, and blue, RGB. Your television, computer monitor, and phone screen all use this principle. They have tiny little lights, or pixels, that can glow red, green, or blue. If you want to see yellow on a screen, your screen doesn't have a yellow light. Instead, it turns on the red and green lights right next to each other. Your eyes receive both signals, and your brain adds them together to create the sensation of yellow. It's an amazing optical trick happening millions of times on every screen you look at. And what happens when you add all three primary colors of light together? If you shine a red light, a green light, and a blue light onto the same spot on a white wall, your eyes will see a patch of bright white light. This is additive mixing in action. The red, green, and blue wavelengths all enter your eye at the same time from the same spot. Your brain receives this complete package of light information and processes it as white. This demonstrates perfectly that white light isn't empty. It's the combination of all the colors of the visible spectrum being added together. Our eyes are, honestly, just incredible biological instruments designed to detect light. Inside your eye, on a layer at the very back called the retina, there are millions of tiny light-sensitive cells. There are two main types, rods and cones. Rods are great at seeing in low light, but they don't see color. They mostly detect shades of gray. The real color magic comes from the cone cells. Most humans have 3 different types of cones, and each type is sensitive to a different range of light wavelengths. We have cones that are most sensitive to long wavelengths, which we see as red, cones for medium wavelengths, so green, and cones for short wavelengths, which show up as blue. Every color you have ever seen is just a combination of signals from these 3 types of cones. When you look at something yellow, like a banana, both your red and green cones get excited and send strong signals to your brain. Your blue cones, however, are not stimulated very much. Your brain receives these strong red and strong green signals, combines them, and creates the experience of seeing yellow. When you see something purple, your red and blue cones are activated, while your green cones are quiet. Every single hue, shade, and tone is just a different recipe of signals from these 3 cone types. So, how do we see white? White is the one color that excites all 3 types of cone cells at once, and by roughly the same amount. When white light, which contains all the wavelengths from red to violet, enters your eye, it stimulates the red, green, and blue cones equally. They all fire off strong signals to the brain simultaneously. Your brain receives this perfectly balanced full-spectrum message and interprets it in a special way. It doesn't see a mix of red, green, and blue. Instead, it has a dedicated sensation for this unique signal. The color we call white. It's a neural shortcut for all colors present. This system also explains why our perception of white can be, well, a little tricky. For example, a white shirt will still look white to you whether you are outside in the bright sun or inside under a yellowish lamp. This is because your brain is smart. It automatically adjusts its interpretation of color based on the overall lighting in the environment, a phenomenon called color constancy. Your brain knows the lamp is yellow, so it digitally subtracts that yellow from everything you see, allowing you to still perceive the shirt as white. It's constantly working behind the scenes to keep your world looking stable and consistent, even when the light itself is changing. Now that we know white is a mix of all colors, we can see it everywhere in nature. The bright light from our sun is the best example of natural white light. It travels through space as a complete package of all visible wavelengths. When this sunlight hits something that reflects all those wavelengths equally, we see that object as white. Think about fresh, powdery snow. Each individual snowflake is actually transparent, but together, the countless tiny ice crystals act like millions of tiny mirrors. They scatter the sunlight in every direction, reflecting all the colors back to our eyes at once, creating the brilliant white appearance of a snowy landscape. The same principle applies to fluffy white clouds in the sky or the foam on an ocean wave. Clouds are made of tiny water droplets or ice crystals. Just like snow, these droplets are so numerous and randomly arranged that they scatter all the wavelengths of sunlight equally. This jumble of reflected light from all parts of the rainbow reaches our eyes, and our brains put it all together to see a bright white cloud. This is also why milk appears white. It's full of tiny fat and protein particles that scatter light in the same way. The next time you see something white in nature, you can remember that you're not seeing a lack of color, but a beautiful reflection of all colors. However, it's important to remember that our human experience of white is not universal. Other animals see the world very differently because their eyes have different types of cone cells. Dogs, for example, have only 2 types of cones, making their color vision more limited. They would likely see our white light, but their perception of colors within it would be different. Some animals, like bees, can see ultraviolet light, which is invisible to humans. So, a white flower might have patterns on it visible only to a bee. What we call white is really just what happens when you stimulate the 3 specific cones in a human eye equally. In the end, the color white is a beautiful invention of our minds. It's a shortcut our brains use to make sense of a flood of information. What appears to be the simplest, purest, and most basic color is actually the most complex and complete. It contains every color we can possibly see, all blended into a perfect, harmonious whole. This is a powerful reminder that the things we take for granted are often hiding incredible layers of science and complexity. The next time you look at a blank page or a white cloud, take a moment